Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining me today to discuss Are You in Denial? We're talking about Social Security disability benefits and what it means if you are denied. My name is Jan Combs, and I work for the Autism Society of North Carolina as an autism resource specialist. I've been through the disability process many times with personal friends and family members, but I've also assisted individuals and families impacted by autism through the years. So I have a lot of information I'm eager to share with you. So let's get right to it. First, let me run through this disclaimer for clarification. Autism resource specialists are not attorneys. This is not legal information or advice in any way. This presentation is intended to provide general information. And just remember, every person with autism is unique, and there's no one size fits all. There's no perfect plan out there. And if you have more in-depth questions, anything of a specific or complex nature, we encourage you to seek the advice of an attorney or a professional. What we're going to be looking at are considerations that affect the appeal process. First off, we're going to cover just the fact that Social Security is a vast system of rules and regulations and policies that are very complicated and most times can be very, very confusing. My goal here is just to share a broad overview with you and give you some basic information about Social Security's disability appeal process. So I want to highlight the differences between SSI, Social Security Insurance, versus SSDI. We're going to do a quick review of the definition of disability. We're going to go over the evaluation standards that are used to sort out the disability question for adults. And I want to touch on the two main types of denials that you need to be aware of, as well as share some common reasons for denials. Because of time limits, I do not attempt to address all the exceptions to the disability benefits that are available under their policy. Just be aware there are numerous situations. There's exceptions for if you're of a certain age, if you're blind, those with certain diagnoses, with cancer, end-stage renal disease. So some of the rules and regulations can vary. Then we're going to continue on and take a deeper dive into the 4 levels of appeal process. And so that's reconsideration, hearing, appeal counsel, federal court review. Those are your options. And we're going to be talking about that. For those of you that are going through the denial phase and perhaps filing an appeal right now, I hope this information will relieve some of the stress and feelings of uncertainty you may be going through right now. For those of you who are listening and who are thinking about appealing or just about to enter into the process, hopefully this information will aid you as you take on this difficult task and bring a bit of confidence as you move forward in the process. Next, we're going to look at some additional strategies and tips, and I want to share some essential information about the next steps to take if you've been denied. And then we'll wrap it up, and at the end, I have some additional resources to share with you that you can link to. And I do want to say, just a reminder, Social Security is a federal agency, as you know. It's under the Rehabilitation Act, and so they must provide reasonable accommodations upon request. So if you need an interpreter, they can provide that for all interactions. If you need to receive information in large print or braille, they can do that also. They also have accommodations if you are deaf or hard of hearing. Those are available, so just make sure you request that. So now we're jumping over into looking at those appeal process considerations. And before we dig into this challenging process, let me just switch gears for a moment. So you see my pictures here of two lighthouses. So what's the purpose of a lighthouse? To warn you of dangerous areas or serve as a navigational aid to bring you into safe harbors. So I know it may sound a little corny, and my apologies, but I'd like for you to think of this information as a beacon that can keep you from running aground. In addition to the enormous patience, the enormous amount of patience you personally need to bring to this process, this material hopefully will assist you in navigating this very intricate and complex process. So in other words, we want to keep your little appeal ship off the rocks through storm and fair weather. Why appeal if you've been denied? Sources report about 70% or more of all disability benefit claims are denied at the time of application or an initial determination. So some folks may choose not to appeal because they think their claim maybe was a long shot in the first place. Many people are unsure of their rights to appeal. They don't understand the process. And quite frankly, a lot of folks are just very, very tired of the paperwork that it takes to slog through this process. But whatever the reason, let me encourage you not to give up. It is best to appeal rather than to start over and to start over with a new application. So you've got to think about your time and cost here. It will take longer to start over with a new application. And more significantly is that if you start over with a new application instead of appealing, you could lose your protective filing date that's used to calculate back pay benefits that you're due. So what happens with this is, if later on you're found eligible for benefits after going through the process, Social Security has essentially approved your claim, you'll receive money that you would have been paid to you if your benefits had started on that protective filing date, going back to that original claim. So keep in mind, you can only go back, it's a maximum of 1 year before the date of application. So if you file a new application rather than appeal that denial decision, it could be very costly to you and your family. And looking at the slide here, we have 4 levels of appeal. These are your options. Social Security requires you to go through each level as needed for your appeal to go forward. So the first level is reconsideration. After your case has been initially denied, you can file an appeal and ask Social Security to reconsider your claim. They take your case and assign it to a different disability examiner. Statistically, there's a low chance to overturn a denial unless maybe the initial examiner had made some obvious errors or your case had missing medical records, but we'll talk more in detail about all of that in the next coming slides. The next appeal level is the hearing, and that's with an administrative law judge. Now, this is the most successful stage of the appeal process. You have a much higher percentage for people to win at this level than at the reconsideration level. You have a new and independent decision maker. This is called the administrative law judge, who will be looking and reviewing your case. And you have the option to appear in person. You give testimony under oath regarding your disability and how it limits your ability to work. You can submit additional information ahead of the hearing to strengthen your case. But if you get denied at this level, the hearing level, then you will next go to the Appeals Council review. This is the third step of the appeal process, and it may take months to a year more to get a decision because of the high volume of claims. Success rate is not very good at this level, but if you get denied at the Appeals Council, then your last option, the last level of appeal, is going to be the federal court review. Now, this is the only level that a lawyer is required. Your attorney would file a lawsuit in the United States District Court. Depends on your location of which court that you're going to be filing that case. but you have much better odds for success at this level than at the appeals council level. And cases can go all the way up to the Supreme Court at this federal court review. So let's take a look at the definition of disability that Social Security uses. And this definition is one of the major hurdles when you're going through this process. Social Security has its own definition with very strict requirements, and that's what's used to determine the issue of disability. Social Security considers you disabled under their rules based on your inability to work. So you may be asking, how exactly does Social Security define disability? So keep in mind that a condition that's disabling for a child may not be so for an adult under their rules. And determining disability for an adult focuses on the ability to earn money from gainful employment. And we're going to talk more about the substantial gainful activity called SGA in the next slide. But the definition here, we consider you disabled under Social Security rules if you cannot do work that you did before, or that Social Security decides that you cannot adjust to other work because of your medical conditions, and your disability has lasted or is expected to last for at least 1 year or result in death. So it's important to note, and I'm calling your attention to that, this determination of disability is a legal decision, not a medical one. So Social Security will consider your medical provider or other agency's opinions, but you still must meet their standards of disability for the purpose of qualifying for Social Security disability benefits. So again, those standards, you cannot do the work you did before. You cannot adjust to other work because of your medical conditions. And then you're looking at the duration of the disability. Is it expected to last at least 1 year or result in death? Social Security does not pay benefits for any partial disability or for a temporary disability that's going to last less than a year. All right, now we're going to be looking at the common reasons you get denied. So it's important to understand the reason why your claim was denied. The letter from Social Security notifying you of the denial, that's going to have an explanation, a very brief explanation of the basis for their denial. So here are just some different things that you may run into. Not complying with request may ultimately cause you to be denied benefits. For example, if you fail to comply with a request for information or medical records, you're going to get denied. If they attempted to locate you and was unable to reach you, you may be denied. So let me suggest, if you put in an application or a request an appeal, know that Social Security is going to try to get in touch with you. So make sure to answer your phone, set up your voicemail box, check and see if your voicemail box is too full, and if so, empty it so you can get a message from them. You want to make sure you pick up your mail on time. Don't just throw your mail in a basket or box and wait to look at it for a later time. I know it's easy to do that, especially if you're going through a struggle or you're really busy, but it's so important to respond in a timely way to those Social Security requests. You don't want to miss those deadlines. If you're moving or perhaps living in an unstable housing situation, ask if you've got one, ask a trusted friend or family member to receive your mail for you. Stress to them that you need to get your mail from Social Security right away. Some organizations and agencies may provide this service, but you need to call Social Security and notify them of any address changes immediately. Do you need any help? Do you have someone that's filing an application or for disability benefits and going through that appeal? Are they really not up to handle paperwork in a timely way? You may want to just fill out a form and ask for assistance. You can get a representative they will receive notifications and requests from Social Security, same as what gets sent to the claimant. So it's vital to make sure you do what it takes to stay on top of this and don't miss those deadlines. So a couple more reasons for denial of benefits. So again, just understand the foundation of your case is your medical records. Most cases are denied initially, often because there's some kind of insufficient medical evidence of your disability. So medical records not only document the disability itself, but they've got to show how it interferes or limits your ability to perform work activity or do those activities of daily life. We want to make sure your doctor understands your condition and gets that accurately documented in your medical record. So you've got to communicate with your doctor about how you're truly doing, what your symptoms are, how does it impact your work or activities. Are you experiencing depression or fatigue, pain? You want to explain how you cannot function, maybe things that you like to do, but you're not able to do anymore because of these symptoms. If you don't discuss it with your doctor, those conditions aren't going to be reflected in their clinical notes. You may be, for example, you may be relying on takeout food because you're too fatigued and tired to shop or to clean or cook food for your meals. You may require assistive devices like a shower grab bar, shower chair. You want to discuss the time it now takes to accomplish tasks. If you're needing frequent breaks, those kind of things, have that discussion with your doctor. You also want to document unsuccessful work attempts. So did you quit work because you can't handle the pressure, or you try to go to work, but maybe you were let go in a week or two? Do you have a dismissal letter from your employer stating reasons for your employment termination? You don't want to throw those away. You can use those. So save those letters, save that documentation. You want to check with your doctor and ask if he agrees with your intention to apply or appeal for Social Security disability. You can ask them for their support. If yes, you thank the doctor for their support. You might want to suggest setting up some extra appointments to help fill out some special forms, etc. But some doctors are going to say no, but it's better to know that up front. Some doctors just don't want the extra paperwork. They don't want to get involved with court testimony, those kind of things. But it's good to plan ahead and know ahead how best to address it. One of the huge weaknesses for your case could be if you claim significant medical issues, but you only are documenting minimal treatment. So it will affect your claim and how successful you are if you stop taking your medications, you stop seeing your doctor, or you don't follow your doctor's recommendations. So if you feel you're at that point, your doctor's not helping you, don't stop going to the doctor or stop treatment. You want to instead maybe, let me suggest, consider finding a new doctor or try working with your existing doctor to change the treatment. If you can't afford treatment, there's some financial assistance, there's some free clinics, things like that that you may want to seek out, but you want to document in your record why you stopped. Also be aware that if you do get approved for benefits, Social Security will periodically review your case to make sure you are still disabled. And so these reviews are called continuing disability reviews. So if you continue to meet the medical requirements for disability, you will be approved. If not, your benefits may stop. So the reviews are going to depend on the severity of your condition and the evidence given at the time of your claim. So usually reviews are set somewhere to occur maybe every 1, 3, 5, 7 years. You'll receive a form describing, you've got to fill it out, describing your current condition, and they're going to ask you for a list of all the places that you receive treatment. So if you stop treatment, stop going and getting any kind of medical care, that's going to really affect your benefits continuing in the future. Looking at this on the second bullet point, if your disability will not last or be expected to last a minimum of 12 months. Your disability has to last and be of a duration, so it's long-term, not any kind of short-term disability, or you'll get denied. There's also special considerations and exceptions here and there, but if you have drug addiction or alcoholism, if you're in crime, it doesn't necessarily kick you out of being able to have benefits, but it may, but there are also some conditions that you may be able to continue. But take a look at that. You want to just make sure that's documented in the record. So let's look at the levels of appeal, and just know the more you understand about the process, the greater your chances of success. So that first level, we're going to be talking about reconsideration. And a reconsideration is a complete review of your claim by someone who did not take part in the first decision. So your case is assigned to a new examiner at the Disability Determination Services. It's called DDS. They're the ones looking at your medical files. They're the ones reviewing your case, looking at everything. So you'll have a brand new set of eyes. They'll look at all the evidence submitted for the original decision, plus any new evidence you provide, and then they'll make a new decision. Many, if not most of these initial appeals are denied unless relevant new information or medical evidence is documented. So take the opportunity to provide those to Social Security. You can clarify any deficits or limits, things you can't do. If you didn't submit statements from friends or relatives at the time of the initial application, this is your chance. You can do that now. When Social Security decides your reconsideration, you and your representative will get a letter explaining the decision. So if approved, Social Security is going to contact you about starting payments. If you do not agree with their decision made on your reconsideration, you can request an appeal. And the next level we go to is going to be a hearing with the administrative law judge. All right, so now we're going into requesting an appeal if denied. How do you do that? So a couple of things. You're going to refer back to your denial notice and follow the instructions about what kind of appeal you need to request. So there's different forms for different levels of appeal, but you can make your appeal request by calling, mailing, faxing, or going online. You can call their toll-free number, and you can explain you don't want to file online, but you do wish to appeal the decision made in your case. Social Security can send you the necessary forms you're going to need, or you can schedule an interview. But again, you have to submit the forms, or you have to follow through with that interview. Calling and just making the request and seeking information is not going to count. You can use the mail-in forms. There's 3 forms. It's best to send all those paper forms in at one time. That way, Social Security can take action more quickly if they receive them at the same time. Or you can send in a signed note with your Social Security number stating that you wish to appeal. But again, you have to make sure to take that next step and actually submit a request, not just ask about information on requesting a hearing. You can apply online. This is the fastest way to request an appeal. You can also provide additional documents online to support your appeal. That's now available. But there's another option, and that's your local office. And right now, call first to verify hours and availability. But be aware that there's follow-up. So when you get finished, after you're finished, Social Security may need to contact you with any updates or questions about your information. You can also go online and log into the My Social Security account or register for an account, and you can check the status of your appeal. And that's a great way to kind of keep tabs on where you are in the process. What about if you need help with an appeal? You can request help from Social Security, an attorney, a relative, a friend, an advocate, anyone and they can help you with the process. Many people think they can handle their own Social Security appeals, but if you don't feel comfortable representing yourself at the appeal hearing, then you can choose someone else to help represent you. Be aware that your Social Security office has a list of organizations that can help you find a representative. You can seek help from an attorney, or there may be some non-attorney representatives. You can hire, depending on where you live and what's available. There also may be some free clinics, some legal aid centers, some law school legal clinics. Don't forget about seeking some of those out. Your representative cannot charge or collect a fee from you without first getting written approval from Social Security. Now, most representatives who charge for their services, and this is the attorney or the non-attorney, they might only collect fees if your claim's approved. But a representative can also collect additional fees for out-of-pocket expenses incurred during the time they represented you. So if they're traveling, if they're spending a lot of money on making copies of your records, those kind of things, they may add in some extra charges. But Social Security will work with your representative just like if they're going to work with you. So your representative can act for you in most Social Security matters, and they will receive a copy of any decisions, same as the ones you receive. If you want more information about having a representative, you can check out the little publication, Your Right to Representation. You can find it on the Social Security website, and I'll put a link here for you. There are forms both you and the rep will need to sign, and then you return those back to Social Security. Now, for some folks, they're going to want to know, will benefits continue during the appeal? So this is for someone who is receiving benefits and they're getting notification that they're going to be denied, terminated, suspended, different situations. But this is called the Statutory Benefit Continuation, the SBC, and this applies to both SSI programs and SSDI. So you may request Social Security to continue paying your benefits in these conditions. If you're appealing the decision that your Social Security disability benefits have ended because your medical condition is not disabling. So one example would be like if you had a traumatic brain injury and through the years you've improved, you're able to do so many more things, you're not as disabled as before, they may be looking at that and deciding to terminate or deny your benefits. Or if you're appealing that you are no longer eligible for SSI benefits, or your SSI payment should be reduced or suspended. So maybe you're in a situation where you're making more income, you have more assets now than you did when you originally went through and got those benefits started. So the Social Security is reassessing and looking at that. If you make a request within 10 days from getting that notification, then they will continue paying benefits during your appeal. So there's a certain form to fill out, and just be aware that if all your appeals are denied, you may be required to repay the benefits from the date of the first denial plus 2 months. Social Security is always behind a month or two. So that's why that funny little time frame. But the important timeline to remember is you've got 10 days to make that request if you want your benefits to continue during a pending appeal. So now we're looking at some resources. Just want to call your attention to a number of articles and resources on Social Security matters. Don't pass up the Social Security website for all their resources, including a number of publications available. If you're interested in a much more detailed information, you can check out the Social Security sites called POMS, P-O-M-S. That stands for Program Operations Manual System. But you can also check out on YouTube, there's videos on all kinds of topics of interest for Social Security. Nolo.com, very good site. They have some online material, there's books available, that kind of thing. Just be aware that policies and regulations do change through the years. So be sure when you're doing your research online that or in books, you're looking at the most updated information and explanations. And here's just a couple of other resources for you. Just make sure to refer to your denial notice to find out the kind of appeal you need to request. So that brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you for the time to listen in, and hopefully this helped answer some of your questions. We will continue to have some other informational webinars on this topic, so please check back on our website. Take care.